All right.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone today with my friend David Mara. Hi, David. How are you?
Kathy, I'm absolutely wonderful. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. So, you guys, I can't wait to introduce you to this amazing, amazing opportunity to go to the next level and to really be able to be more of your God self right now in these big times of change. David was on another show that I watched, and I started crying while I was watching the show. I was supposed to be working, and it was during work hours, but somehow
I love it. You played hooky. I like it.
that's how I got there. But I just had tears rolling down my face because I've been asking, how do I hold more light? How do I hold more light? How do I hold more light? And then I'm directed to watch this interview, and just hearing your voice, all of a sudden I had prickly energy and everything and felt it. So then I signed up for the next day. That was on a Friday. On a Saturday, I signed up to have David's the first activation. So I don't want to. I don't want to spill the beans yet, but oh my God, you guys, I've been doing this work for 30 years and I've never experienced anything like this. So I am so excited to have more of my friends and customers and peeps know about this because this is what we came here to do. And David has part of the activations that can bring you into full force. So, David, with that introduction, and thank you so much. Do you want to share, while I invite some people to the show, do you want to share how this all happened so that people have a little idea about your story, please?
Sure, I'm happy to, and thank you, Kathy. Again, it's truly a pleasure to be here. And if you look at my eyes and you see that I'm tired, it's because I haven't slept in weeks.
Oh, wow.
It's one of those things where the energy is shifting, and this is not just me.
Yep.
It's almost as if we're working 24 hours a day. So I'm awake most of the night, even when my body's asleep.
Yep.
And I'm still lucid, so I am tired. So, but that's not a reflection of who I am. It just means that I'm tired. That's all.
Yeah.
So, in 2018, all of that year, I was consumed, along with several other friends, with Africa, with studying, with looking, doing research, and towards the beginning of December, I started having a series of dreams. It turned out to be maybe around 15 of them, in which I was being called to go to Kenya. And subsequently to that, I now know that yes, I was called, but I was also sent, because it's never a one-way street. It's also a two-way street. So I went there to receive something. I went there to bring something, to give something. And I'm not minimizing the gifts that I received, because they were phenomenal. So it turns out that what we were doing is we were going to go to the annual prayer vigil that circumambulates around Mount Kenya. It goes around Mount Kenya in a counterclockwise manner, and it takes all day to do that. It's a 700-kilometer drive, or 450 kilometers, but it takes about 7 hours to accomplish the entire drive. And this is something that has been happening for thousands and thousands of years. It was shut down by the British when they invaded and colonized Kenya, which is what the colonizers did with every civilization when they went there. And it wasn't until 2008 that they were legally allowed to be able to do them again. And within the context of this particular group, there are 42 or 43 different tribes of people in Kenya. One of them is the Katuyu people, of which they were the ones that invited me to come. And historically, there are always 12 seers, 12 shaman, if you will, within the context of this tribe. They knew that I was coming because of the dream that I had. And we arrived. We were the only white people that there. We were the only white people that had ever been there. And I was in as we got out of the car and we walked across to where the crowd was. There was about maybe 800 people, something like that. I really don't know the actual number, but it was a lot of people. And we were just going to join the crowd at the back and wait for the activation. For there was an obvious group of officials and a priest that were there. Now they came and they brought us up front because they knew that we were coming. They already told the crowd that we were coming. So they brought us up front, turned us around to face the crowd. It was both an honor and a little bit embarrassing at the same time. And then we were introduced to all of these officials, just one after another. And to be honest, there was too many of them, too fast, too many names. And if I saw them today, I wouldn't recognize them. But then we met the priest or the seer that was going to do the invocation for everybody. And I looked at him and he was the man from my dream.
That's right there. I'm just, whoa.
He looked at me and smiled and said, "David, I dreamt of you." And I laughed and said, "I dreamt of you also." Now, on the outside, I was very composed. I was composed on the outside as I am right now. On the inside, I was completely just falling apart. I was just emotional and shattered and shaking and everything else. And he basically said, "I can't do too much right now, but you need to know that you're not like other people." And he said, he gestured to the crowd and he said, "These are some of the kindest, most caring, loving, and generous people that you're ever going to meet. And there's not one of them except me and maybe your two friends that has a clue who you are." And he said, "I can't do too much right now, but I'll speak to you a little bit afterwards." And so he went on with the invocation, and afterwards, and I'm still just going nuts inside. And afterwards, these TV cameras thrust their microphones into my face.
Oh, I didn't remember this part of the story. Oh.
And apparently at that moment, I had the gift of tongues, which meant that I had 42 tongues and they all spoke at the same time in a different language, and it was complete gibberish. I had no idea what came out of my mouth. It was just a blur. And very wisely, none of the this is a big to-do in Kenya. There was like 5 TV crews there. None of them used this footage, which was really good. And then afterwards, he came to myself and my 2 friends, Teresa Lutnager and Beth Curia, who were with me, and he gave each one of us a blessing. And he put his hands on top of our heads, and he told me, I didn't know this until 2020, but when I returned again, he put his hands on my head and he heard the voice said, "No, don't give him a blessing, give him everything." And it was like being struck by lightning. It was like being struck by lightning 3 or 4 times in just a few seconds. And then he laughed at me and said, "I'm not a wealthy man, but I've just given you everything that I have." And long story short, we finished the rest of the circumambulation around Mount Kenya. Spent another 10 days there. Had some private meetings with him. Then I returned home to the coast of Oregon where I was living, and I spent 3 months sitting in my living room just staring out the window. I didn't work. I didn't really talk to people unless they forced me by calling me repeatedly. I didn't do anything. I thought my landlord was going to evict me because I didn't pay rent for 3 months. And at the end of 3 months, it finally fully integrated within me. Because, well, and let me back up a second. So while I was still in Kenya, That's when the Eden template transmission came. And like all transmissions, they come really quickly, like just in an instant or a millisecond. And then they unpack, then they open up, and you get to discover what it is. And it literally put me on the floor. The only way that I could stabilize it was to be on the ground, laying down on the earth. That's the only way that I could be able to do it. But it took a full 3 months to be able to integrate it enough that I was able to verbalize what it was in relation to who I am. And now it's been, close to 3 years, something like that, since then. And at this point, it's fully embodied in me. And it's not just in me, it's who I am. And I will stress that there is, at one level, there's absolutely nothing special about this. There's nothing special about me in relation to this. It just happens to be who I am, just as you are who you happen to be. That doesn't make you special in relation to other people or better than. It just means that you are who you are.
But you're an activator. I mean, you were given this to reintroduce it at this time on Earth. So don't you believe that?
I am able to transmit this to other people. Yes, that's definitely true. I'm just saying that does not make me special. It means that like all of us, every single one of us we are our consciousness before we are humans, before we have this physical vessel, this body that we live in. And it's that function of consciousness that is who we are. And as the more that we embody it within inside of us, the more it becomes who we are, the more we're able to share that with other people. I just happen to be able to share this with other people, and it activates them. But remember, it's not me giving the activation. I'm not the one doing this.
Well, you're a placeholder. You're the placeholder. You're the, what do you want to call it? The receiver and the generator of the frequency.
I hold the container for this.
Right.
And it is literally pristine. There's no question about that. It is a pristine container. And when there's a class happening and the transmission comes, and I'll use an analogy that most Americans will understand. If David is present at all, then he goes and sits at the kids' table, like he goes and sits in the corner and just watches.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I've got some feedback coming. I don't know if my volume's too loud.
No, it sounds good from here.
Okay.
It sounds good. So I want to welcome everybody. Thank you, Jade and Liz and Denise and Santa and Sanine's here. Hi. Okay, so when I heard you talk, one of the times you talked about Atlantis and about that's why you were having the dreams. Do you feel that, because you talked about a star in the sky, could you share a little bit about that too?
Well, the Katuya people have always spoken that Mount Kenya is the source, the location of the original Garden of Eden. So for them, for the seers, that is the place ever since before biblical times, as we understand them, where all of the great saints, the prophets, and the seers came to Mount Kenya for their final teachings, for their final initiations. And that would include Yeshua, that would include Muhammad, that would include all the Old Testament prophets, that would include all of the pharaohs and the kings and queens of Egypt, et cetera, et cetera. They all journeyed to Mount Kenya to be able to learn. And they speak of the fact that there has always been a star at Mount Kenya. It's not in this dimension. It's dimensionally shifted. From my perspective, and understand this is my perspective, what myself and others saw is that the star was actually the master crystal from Atlantis that was sealed at the time of the fall of Atlantis, because it was capable of both creation and destruction.
Yep.
So it was sealed dimensionally so that it could not be used, and nobody had access to it, and it stayed that way. And those beings that sealed it put the keys to unseal it into their DNA. So within that context, all that was necessary is that at the right time was for somebody that carried those seals in their DNA to walk on the earth nearby, and those seals would be transmitted through the earth in those key codes and unseal it. And Teresa had them, Beth had them, I had them. There were lots of other people that had them. There were lots of people that had this particular calling to go there. It just happened to be that it was Beth and Teresa and myself that actually went. It's not personal. It's not personal at all.
Well, you got the call, you got the memo, and you reacted to it. I think when you started talking about the Atlantis connection is when I heard your interview that I just started crying. I mean, just sobbing, listening, because it appears that that's part of I think the recipe to our ascension, to Mother Earth, having the energy from, I consider us her cells of her, and we're more of us could hold more of this co-creation energy that would help heal her and help her go to the higher dimension. Do you agree with that?
Well, let me put another perspective on it. So the Atlantean time was very mental, and huge amounts of amazing scientific discoveries happened and were made. But because it was disconnected from the heart,
right?
It's the same way that you can have nuclear power and turn it into a bomb capable of destroying the entire Earth.
Right.
It's mental. It's disconnected from the love that we really are. So, and I would like to say that in terms of the Earth, Gaia is fine. Gaia is already transforming herself into the star that she is and always has been. She is. This is happening. It's merely up to us if we wish to continue to journey with her.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that there's nothing wrong with this. I know there's a lot of concern for the destruction that's going on the planet, because it seems to be just like we're falling into chaos and barbarism in terms of the way that we treat each other on the planet. But remember, this is school. We're all here to learn. And it's not so much that we are ascending, because that's what's always happened, is that people have their own internal, they have that moment where they self-realize internally, and they reconnect and they know who they are. Historically, what has happened is that at that moment they would drop their body and they would go back into non-physical and be an ascended master. That's not what we're doing now. This is completely different frequency. Because what we're doing now is embodiment. We are raising the frequency of the physical body by cleansing it. And because the physical body is not separate at all, the physical body is just a part of a spectrum that raises to the level of our Godhead, but it's a continuous spectrum, and there is no separation in it. So as we cleanse the body and remove the distortions from it, what happens is that the frequency of it raises, and it's able to rise in dimensional frequency, and your soul descends into it. Now you are a living soul living in your body, fully embodied, fully realized as a master, but here on the earth. And this is happening in large numbers. And by large numbers, I don't mean like millions or hundreds of millions. I mean maybe 2,000-3,000. But it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much. If you remember the critical mass theory, where the Chinese say that, like, it's when you reach that critical mass point, it's danger and opportunity, because we don't know how it's going to flip.
Right.
It will flip. We just don't know how it's going to do, because that is a function of all of us. That's a function of every single person on the planet. But nobody will be left behind.
So the other people that got the downloads, are they doing anything with it, or you doing? And are you feeling reinforced?
Oh, I'm totally supported.
Okay, good.
I'm totally supported. They have their own paths, and they walk them with the grace that they have.
Okay. Well, okay, so I have an experience because my daughter was in the Peace Corps in Namibia. So I went over for 3 weeks and traveled through Africa. So when you were first telling your initiation story, I can picture what that was like. Dirt roads, no signs, animals, people walking, and being the only white people for 200 kilometers, 500 kilometers. And so that whole thing, I mean, what really got you there, do you think? I mean, really, truly, that is a huge, long trip from Oregon.
There was no choice. I mean, I was literally called in dreams, and not just a dream, but dreams. I mean, I dreamt of everything that was going to happen while I was in Kenya. They all turned out to be quote unquote prophetic. They didn't look exactly like the dream, but when you look at them energetically, that's what happened.
Wow.
At the time, it was right up against the deadline that you could get a plane ticket to be able to go there. It's a 2-day plane flight.
Right.
And it's literally halfway around the world. Yep. I didn't have the money for that. And a friend of mine out of the blue called me and said, my wife and I just got the vibe that you have to be in Africa. We want to buy you your plane ticket. And somebody else that was a client showed up and gave me a bunch of money as a pre-deposit for work that they hadn't even said that they know they want to do, so that I had extra money to be able to work with, etc.
At that point, you were doing websites, right?
That's when I was doing websites.
Yeah. Yeah.
That business has fallen by the wayside. That's no longer what I do.
Well, so this is what I mean. This is divine intervention. I mean, but you listened. I mean, you could have gone, yeah, I'm not ready for that. But you.
No, at this level, when a dream is this intense, because it's not just dreaming of seeing flowers and butterflies.
Right.
When literally you are visited by masters on the inside, and it has to come.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a choiceless choice.
Yeah.
And it literally was walking into a destiny point.
Oh wow. Wow, so cool. So you said you've gone back to Kenya.
Yes.
Since then.
So I went back this last December.
So the shaman that activated you, he kept his powers, or did he deliver all of it to you, or do you both have it?
As far as I know, we both have it.
Wow, cool.
So the first time I was seen as an acolyte, as just a neophyte, a beginner. This time I was recognized as an elder within their society. And
As a master.
that isn't a word that they use.
Okay. Well,
And it's not a word that I would use. I'm who I am.
right. Well, I just want, for the people that didn't hear me at the very beginning, I haven't gotten to take David's full class, but I did get to take activation and I've done a lot of work over 30 years. I'm highly sensitive and intuitive and psychic and do stuff. And I was electrified for 5 hours afterwards. All I could do was sit out on the deck in the sun. And then I got to listen to the recording 2 days ago again. I couldn't listen to it until 2 days. I don't know why. It was just like, no, not now, no, not now, no, not now. And then I was totally on fire again, where energy, I can feel it right now just talking to you. There's some amazing transmission that I'm benefiting at body, mind, and spirit from your presence. And I'm so grateful. I want to hold more light so I can have the vitality and do the work that help all the people that I'm supposed to help with my mission, which is to help as many people wake up to their divinity as possible. And so this work, I've been asking, okay, how do I do it? I need reinforcements. Are you guys going to send me some more people, some beings to help me? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then I stumbled upon yours, and it was like, oh my God. And there was no question. There was no question that was to do. And I'm seeing Sanine's on here too, and she says it's an awesome deep shift and that she's experienced it too, and she's taken the class. So could you tell a little bit about, oh, thank you guys. Thanks, Milana, for coming. Thank you guys for coming. Could you give, I know you're in between, I can feel where you are, and this is a big job for you because you're actually still connected to people that you've worked with. You don't really detach from them. You are still
Let's say that I'm available to them.
yes,
Because I'm not in anybody's field.
right.
I don't intrude into people's fields. If you ask me to come in or if you give me permission, then I will come and share. But other than that, no, I don't. It's never appropriate for me or anybody to be in your field without
Right.
your permission.
Right. So this Eden Temple, which I'm going to put the website up here so everybody can see it.
It's actually the Eden Temple.
Template.com. The template is like Genesis. It's a co-creating with the universe at a very high level, correct?
The first level activation, if I can speak to it, is that over the course of our incarnational stream of hundreds of thousands, millions, billions of lives, because we've all been living in a very large incarnational stream for a long time. Every time that you die and you've not remembered who you are. So at our core essence, we are the divine. We are the creator. There is no separation between us and God. There never has been. It's just that we have a veil that goes over our eyes and we forget. Mm-hmm. And every time that we have died and not remembered who we are, the body has an automatic fear response. And it doesn't matter how peaceful we are with that transition or not. the body thinks it's going to end. And so there's that fear response creates a little smoky thread that forms around the base of our spine. And if you can imagine that you have lived a million lives, there's now a lot of smoky threads there, like a ball of yarn, and they get tighter and tighter and tighter. There is a small star at the base of your spine that is the entry point for source energy, for the energy of the creator to flow into. There are lots of different words that are used to describe that. I don't like to use those words. And the reason is that if I mention them, whatever they are, everybody has studied, learned, heard about, known, somebody shared what those are, and immediately it gets put into a box that is not the actual experience. So I don't use those words. I don't like that. But what happens is that the first level activation opens up that channel. It turns it on, and all of those smoky threads just disappear. And now the energy begins to move up through your central column, goes out the top of your head, up through your crown, and then cascades down around you, and then rejoins and continuously circulates. That's a really synaptic version. It's much deeper than that. As you know, there are more components to it. But in essence, that reconnection, that point where source energy comes into you, that is where you begin to restore your original blueprint, your original template from when your soul was first created. And it is regenerative. In other words, as that energy begins to move through you and flow through you as you, then it begins to restore and regenerate the physical vessel that you're in. But it also can be challenging. So it's like a crystalline seed that gets planted in your heart. And like any seed, the more that you nourish it, take care of it, and weed it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and give it food, the more it will flower and blossom until it literally becomes something that you embody as you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I have to say the experience was physical, emotional, and mental in some ways. It affects your perspective of your unlimited being.
So remember that there is no separation in you. So there is no separation between your physical body, your physical vessel, and your emotional body, your mental body, your spiritual body. And as the energy begins to flow through you, as you, because this is who you are source energy flowing through you, and the energy is yours, and it's here to serve you, then your bodies begin to align. There's an alignment that happens between your physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual bodies, and that line becomes finer and finer and finer. It begins to challenge you. It will have you looking at everything that you believe, and I don't care what that is. It will have you taking a deep, hard look at it. And is this something that I believe because I've been told it? Or is this something that I believe because I know that it's true?
Right.
And gradually it's going to, it will show you how to weed your own garden, if you will, and just let go of things that no longer serve you.
But it's very interesting how seamless that is. I mean, I've done Avatar, which was all the way through Wizards, did it 16 years ago, which gives you a toolkit to, look at your triggers and then process them. This is more organic, where it serves or it doesn't serve. It's so clear. And I think it changes your thought processes so that you're not even attracting things that aren't in alignment anymore.
Well, we all understand what it's like to have emotional toxicity, to have emotions that are not healthy for us. Well, one of the core things that I talk about is, or that I teach, is an understanding of neuroplasticity, which is the ability of the brain to recover from an extremely traumatic injury, say a car accident or a motorcycle accident or falling off of a building or something like that, and you lose some level of functionality, whether that's cognitive or physical. And current science says that that's it. You've lost that. And we all know stories, or we've all heard stories of people being told they'll never walk again, and yet they do, or that they'll never speak again, and yet they do. And that's because they are able to rewire new neural pathways through their system to be able to channel those energies, to be able to recover those particular lost functions. Well, for me, that's a description of the world. Because I have not met anybody, myself included, that has not been carrying internal trauma that has shut down and fractured part of them off.
Right.
So one of the things that as source energy begins to flow through you, it begins to bring those things up to the surface to where those distortions, those traumas can be released. But it also begins to rewire your neural net, which is the combination of your brain and your nervous system as a single unit.
Right.
It begins to open new neural pathways. It begins to open dormant neural pathways that have always been there. They're just not used. So they're shut down. And instead of a little tiny trickle, it opens up to a nice big broad stream that is flowing through you.
Beautiful. And that's what happened to you for 3 months, is you were being rewired after you got the download.
I have no way of explaining the intensity of that.
Oh, well, I just can explain the intensity of one meditation, and I can imagine, and people can feel. People on the chat are saying how much they feel your energy. So I'm not alone. All of us sensitives can sense the beautiful gift that you hold and that you share. Have you found that your health is good?
I'm just looking at your comments. A person named Jade says, "Oh my goodness, please live by me." And Jade, all I can say is that I'm already there, and so are you, and so
She's
are
in
you.
Oregon too.
Here, if I convey anything, there is no difference between any of you watching and myself. None whatsoever. You have never not been connected to source. We've just forgotten, and a little veil went over our eyes when we're born. So when we're born as children, we haven't differentiated yet. We're still connected directly to source. So young children remember this. They haven't forgotten yet. And as we grow older, we go through a lot of familial conditioning from our parents and our families, and societal conditioning and cultural conditioning and national conditioning, et cetera, et cetera. We live in a collective, and then we get to weed out what it is that we're not.
Yeah.
And we get to discover who we really are.
Well, okay. So my question is that have you noticed physiological changes besides the fact that you couldn't hardly function for 3 months? Have you noticed superpowers?
Superpowers is an interesting word. Don't ask for superpowers. If you came here with gifts, they will emerge. They will emerge when they're ready. So for me, I've always been a kinesthetic type person. I've been a feeler. Mm-hmm. That has translated into, because I am also a seer, I have clearer visions now. But so what?
Well, no, the reason why,
Literally. So what?
well, it's a way to co-create with the universe at a higher level.
I understand. What I'm saying is that we all have the inherent gifts that we came here with.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's not about what clair I possess, whether it's clairaudience or clairvisual or anything else. It's about awakening yourself to your own consciousness as it comes through you. And in that, whatever gifts you possess, they will come to the fore.
Yeah.
But the gifts are not important. The gifts are the side effect.
Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I think you have superpowers. That's all. And I'll let my childish joy about that go. But Sanine says, I experienced a whole spectrum divine love heart opening on Finn's birthday. That's my boyfriend, her son. It's a template instigated this, but not only one example of how much happens quite quickly. I'm integrating still hard to put into words.
So some of us, when this happens, we're literally ready, and it's like it can be like rocket fuel that we just kind of take off, and others it's more like we begin a nice brisk walk. It's unique to each one of us.
Yes.
And again, it depends upon where we are at that moment on our path, and it also depends upon how well we are nourishing that seed in our heart. So the normal energy stream that happens is that everybody experiences this to one degree or another. Is that an energy stream will come in through our crown. There will be a knowingness attached to that, and it comes to our heart. Always comes to the heart first. The heart then passes it back up to the brain. Here's where it gets dicey in terms of being here on earth, is that if the brain has not surrendered itself to the heart,
Yeah, that's it.
then the brain interprets it in any way that it wishes based upon its own conditioning and preferences. And that interrupts the flow. Once you reach the stage to where you have surrendered the brain to the heart, the functioning of the brain, then the heart passes that communication back up, and now it is able to come forward and manifest. This is why in way pre-dynastic Egypt, the Netters, the Netteru, were shown with the heads of animals, because the animals represent the intelligence of the heart. And so when they're represented that way, it says this being is ruled by their heart, not by their head.
Oh, wow. This is beautiful, beautiful. So there aren't that many questions. Lots of people saying, I love you, and they're loving the experience. But Peter's asking, if we have chosen, then why should we work to remember? If we have chosen to be here, why should we work to remember?
It's a really good question. So it's not so much working as we just allow. Really and truly, we're all on our path. We all have our own internal alarm clock, if you will, that is, oops, it goes off. Oops, time to wake up. Time to wake up. It's time to remember who you are. And there's nothing we can do to make that go off quicker. This is all unfolding in perfect divine timing. There's nothing that's out of place. There's nothing that is wrong. And really and truly, if you're called to study and learn, fabulous. And at the same time, the biggest learning that we have is just to allow, because there's really nothing that I've discovered that I can do to make this happen. It's just allowing it. It's just getting out of our own way.
Well, when you said something about the veil, I've been saying since probably for 2 years that the veil is gone, but we haven't really known how to operate without it. We're out of the box. There are no walls, but we're still constricted with conditioning. or our operating program that we thought were. So is that what you're seeing? That people that when they go through the Eden template processes, that they are able to totally see that the veil is gone. They're reconnected and totally with their who they are.
That's how it comes about is individually and unique to each individual person. Like I mentioned earlier, some people will just go boom, and others will take a more sedate walk. And there's no right or wrong way to do this. We cannot do this wrong. You cannot do this wrong. It's not possible. So the journey that each one of us take is the journey that each one of us takes, and it's unique to each one of us. And I love the expression of what Ram Dass says, where he says, we're all just walking each other home. Because there's only one of us here. There's literally only one of us here.
Yeah.
There's an ancient Chinese story that a person dies, and when they do, they meet God, and God shows them that they are every single person that has ever lived on the earth has been an incarnation of that person. And they could not handle it because their interpretation of that was mental. It's, well, how could I be every single person? Not understanding that there's only one of us here. And this everything that's happening around us, this is that grand dream. We're here at literally at one level, we're here to have fun. We're here to have fun.
So the question I tried to ask before that didn't work was about your own health. Have you found that being rewired and holding this precious energy has helped your health?
Yes, I am experiencing the best health in my life. I'm 75 now. Until when I turned 74 last year, that was the first time that I ever celebrated a body by actually being in the body.
Wow.
This last year, just a few months ago, I had some medical blood work done and was told that I had the blood work of a 40-year-old. So yes, it is regenerative. And at the same time, I have 75-year-old eyes and have cataracts. And my eyes are being upgraded right now, and I have no idea how that's going to turn out, what that is. I'm 75. I have knees that have been around for a long time in terms of walking, et cetera, et cetera. So, but everything. The energy that flows through it is regenerative. So I call the star at the base of your spine the Eden star, but that's my name for it within my experience of what this channel is. Judy Satori calls it the Regenesis particle.
Right.
It's a word. Who cares?
Well, I'm so grateful that I stumbled upon your work, and Smeen, thank you so much. And other people are saying that too, that they're stumbling on it because of her recommendation. So there are some requests and questions about when you might do that first activation again, because there's lots of people that want to have the super cool experience, and then probably will want to take the series of classes. The series of classes, it's 8 weeks, correct?
Well, I'm currently doing a class called Freedom from the Known. And so if you really wish to step out there and remember totally who you are, then you have to be able to move beyond what it is that you know, because it stands in your way. So it's an 8, and it looks like it's going to expand into a 9-week class, which is just fine. And it's a very deep dive. It's currently in process. We'll do the second week class this coming Saturday. But I will offer it 2 more times this year. So I offer it, it's a 2-month class, and I give myself a 2 to 3 week break between them because I need a little bit of time just for myself. And but this on May 8th, which is a Saturday at noon, I'm going to offer the first level activation again. And the first level activation I do as a pay as you are able, pay as you can basis. And I ask you to make a love donation. Normally, if I'm just going to put it out there, I ask for $55 as an energy exchange. I set up 10, 20, 30 through 100% discounts, and everybody can choose how much they wish to share with me for the activation. I was shown very clearly that I can never turn anybody away just for the reason of they don't have the money.
Yeah.
So
Milana will be there.
if you don't have the $55, then come as my guest. That's why the class is offered that way.
Wow. Well, I can't recommend it enough, you guys. Honestly, this is your path to holding your essence. You're reconnecting on a primal, a holistic way with your soul.
Thank you. I appreciate hearing that. I appreciate hearing the understanding. And one of the things that I always do is that after a class, after the meditation, I ask everybody to describe to me, not necessarily in that moment. Denise, it's May 8th at noon Pacific.
Denise is a beautiful, beautiful.
Renee Daniels, yes, it is on my website. If you go there and click on events, so on the events link in
May 8th. Thank you, Milana. Milana's all of these beings that are on here that I know are all magical beings that there's no coincidence that oh,
I interrupted the flow and I have no idea where I was.
you were talking about the course and you were talking about the 8th, that the way that you work with people, you were told not to turn anyone away.
Yeah, and with the more advanced teachings, yes, I do have. I'm like everybody else. I have rent to pay.
Yeah.
And insurance and gas in the car and repair bills and all of that stuff. But I always offer scholarships, but they're not. I do them a little bit different. It's not like a free scholarship. So if I offer somebody a scholarship based on what they can afford, if somebody says I can't afford it, I ask them to explain to me what are your circumstances, and then if we agree on something that they are able to contribute, then I ask them to put the rest of the tuition into a pay it forward account that is just for them. They make an internal commitment to do something, whatever it is, and I don't monitor it. This is an agreement between them and the universe. That maybe if they do an act of kindness for a stranger, but it has to be something that they have no expectation of ever being repaid for it. So that it always it's balancing out everything, so that they are making an investment in themselves at the same time.
Well, have you found that the people that feel like they have a history with Atlantis have had more of a visceral experience with this work, or is it everybody?
It's everybody. So if you look at the classes that I have that are available, I don't always teach them. One of the classes that I have is called Soul Completion, completion of soul contracts. It is done through the original Egyptian mystery schools, but it's not about Egypt. It's in ancient times, and we're just about running out of time. In ancient times, the initiations that people went through were life and death affairs. And it was very casually looked at. If you failed and you died, well, that's okay. Just come back again in another life and try again. And for whatever reasons, a lot of people that did die in those were unable to return in an appropriate time and complete those initiations, which is a completion of inner circuitry inside themselves. And this activation, it doesn't matter whether that was through Atlantis or Egyptian times or a Native American tradition or the Mayans or the Incans or the Sumerians, it does not matter. This is the completion of inner circuitry. And once that is complete, the pull of that other life comes here and merges, and you're able to be here in this now rather than feeling I'm born out of time. I need to be living in ancient Egyptian times or ancient Mayan times, whatever it might be.
Yes, that's a very shamanic practice to bring back your fragments, your soul fragments.
Yep.
So this is perfect. Thank you so much. I don't even want to stop. I wish we could go longer, but I understand that I want to honor your time, and I so appreciate this opportunity to introduce your work to my audience. If there's any other questions from anyone, Jade has been so kind to put the link here. I have the website, the EdenTemplate.com on the screen. Is there anything else, David, that you would? Oh, thank you, everybody. And please, you guys, share this out. Facebook is doing some squirrely things right now, so please share this so a lot of people can see. Thank you.
I would just express my gratitude to everybody that's here, to everybody that's come. I can literally feel your presence. Excuse me, because when these energies begin, the connections go out, so I can feel all of you in my field. And the only thing I have to say is, if this calls to you, if you feel the correctness, the resonance inside yourself, especially in your heart, then please come to the May 8th. And it would be lovely to share this with you.
Thank you. And
I'm so grateful to you, Kathy, for inviting me to be here with you today. And I'm grateful for the presence of everybody that has joined us today. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you, everyone. David, thank you for this work. I'm so excited that I found you, and that I hope I can help you get more people to all of your events, because this is the work. This is soul embodiment, soul body fusion. It was never about ascending out. It was always about bringing more light in.
I can promise all of you that if you leave, if you drop your body right now, the very first thing you're going to do is go, oh, crap. Can I get another body right quick and go back and finish this? Don't leave. This work, part of this work is that literally you begin to die to yourself. You begin to die to your ego, and you die over and over and over and over and over in every moment. And so at one level, it can be looked at as being a death, but it's also dying in order to live. And you have to keep your attention focused on staying here in your physical form.
Perfect.
And if you choose to leave, well, that's okay too. Like I said, we cannot do this wrong. It does not matter. Nobody's going to be left behind.
Right.
It's not going to happen.
Right.
Yeah. Like, remember, there's only one of us that's here. How can anybody be left behind? It's not possible.
That's what the whole illusion is, that spirit wants to experience itself, but it wants you to be fully empowered to do the work. So that we're half asleep. This is an opportunity to embody the essence of light that you really are, and then enjoy it. Create a joyful, peaceful world with it.
Yes, and we are just beginning to enter into that age of peace that has been prophesized and promised to all of us, and it is happening. It's here now. It's just tuning into it. And
Yeah.
I would also ask, please sign up if you wish. Sign up for my on my mailing list for my newsletter, because that way, every time there's a new class or event happening, you'll be notified of it in time to be able to participate if you wish.
Well, thank you again. The website is edentemplate.com. I'll have it in the description as well, but it's on the screen right now. Please, you guys, do yourself a favor. Watch this interview again. Feel if this is right for you, because I don't know how you could resist this now that you found it.
You don't have to.
Yeah, so
I
beautiful.
could go all Star Trek and the Borg on you and go, resistance is futile.
Because it's true. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you, David. And I'm sure we'll talk again soon. I appreciate you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. I'm
Yeah.
so grateful to have been here with you, Kathy, and also that I'm so grateful for all of you being here.
Yes.
Blessings, blessings, blessings.
And please share. Please, we want to wake up as many people as playmates. Come on.
We don't have to wake them up. They have their own.
I know, but that's my way of looking. I want playmates. Come on.